Hello, brothers and sisters. Hey, thanks for joining me. Hey, this is going to be a sad one. This is the story of that young woman who was killed in North Carolina. I hadn't wanted really to cover this because it was just so sad. I feel like I need to. So, this is in the New York Post. Madman charged with killing Ukrainian refugee Iryna Zarutska was free on cashless bail despite years of violence and mental illness. Let's see what this story is about. Published September 8th, that was yesterday, in the New York Post, and I'll link the story. The deranged homeless man charged with butchering a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee on a Charlotte train was free on cashless bail after a magistrate released him with just a written promise to show up for court, despite a nearly two-decade history of mental illness. Yeah, and that's why I really wanted to cover this. I just wanted to talk about mental illness and soft on crime policies. I've been doing a lot of these stories lately on the UK, but the same is true in the US. And I'll say right out, I am happy that Trump called in the National Guard in Washington, D.C. I'm happy that he's now called them in, I think, to Chicago, and he sent ICE into Boston. These are very lawless places. They've been poorly run for years by Democrats. The Democrat politicians seem to think that it's good to be soft on crime, but these are the types of consequences of soft on crime policies. So I'm all about hard on crime policies and very happy that Trump is making America safer, 100%. And I think anyone who is upset that Trump is reducing crime is a lunatic. I'll just say it. People that actually live in those places are happy that crime is better. It's Karens that live somewhere else in their Hamptons enclaves that really don't have to deal with the consequences of these soft on crime policies that are all patting themselves on the back for making these rules, like cashless bail and such. So let's look at this story. Again, this is a sad one. I didn't really want to cover it because it's kind of sad, but I think I needed to. Out of Charlotte, the deranged homeless man charged with butchering 23-year-old refugee on a Charlotte train was free on cashless bail after a magistrate released him with just a written promise to show up for court despite two decades of violence and mental illness. DeCarlos Brown Jr., 34, was arrested at least 14 times in North Carolina for crimes ranging from assault and firearms possession to felony robbery and larceny dating back to 2007. His own mother told TV station WSOC that her son was a schizophrenic who should never have been allowed to roam the streets. Okay, so here's a picture. I'm not going to play any video on this because there's a good, it might be upsetting depending on which one it is, and YouTube might take it down because basically the story is there's a young Ukrainian woman, that's her sitting there in the ball cap. She just gets on a train and a madman murders her for no reason. And then the other shameful and shocking thing is American mainstream media don't seem to want to cover this. We don't see this story anywhere on TV. So the only way we're seeing it is through the internet because it doesn't fit the narrative. And when you do see the story, the mainstream media don't talk about the man being black, the woman being white. If it were the other way around, we would know that this information, and we all know that that's true. And it's the same in the UK and in the US on this. Soft on crime policies. This guy, his own mother said he's a lunatic and shouldn't be out on the streets. He should be committed to a mental institution, or he should still be in jail as a threat to society. He should not be out on cashless bail. The caption here, Carlos Brown Jr. seen on surveillance footage of stabbing on the light train. So he murdered this girl right there on the video for no reason. She's just sitting there looking at her phone. She didn't do anything. And if you watch the video, she didn't do anything. She got up, she got on the train. He decided to kill her because he's crazy, and crazy people do crazy things. So here he is, Brown Jr., 34, arrested 14 times from crimes ranging from assault and firearm possession to felony robbery and larceny dating back to 2007. Yeah, and I've had some people in the comments from the UK ask me, hey, I thought guns were legal in the US. Why is he being arrested for a firearm? There are some reasons you can have your gun rights taken away, such as being a felon, such as being adjudicated for mental illness or by a judge, being subject to some kind of court order around domestic violence. So there are certain things that even in the US, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, will not protect your rights on if you're considered a danger to society. But you've got to be considered a danger to society, and it needs to be through some sort of court action. But Brown was free man right up until the moment cops said he viciously stabbed Iryna Zarutska in an unprovoked, cowardly sneak attack as she rode the train home from her job at a local pizzeria. She just worked at a pizza parlor. That's it. She was on her way home. That's it. She's looking at her phone. She's doing nothing else. Horrifying video on August 22nd incident, which sparked nationwide outrage when it emerged last weekend, shows Brown seated on the train before Zarutska boards and takes a seat in front of him, her blonde locks tucked underneath her nondescript black baseball cap. They didn't interact in the video. She just walks on, gets on the train. That's it. The horrifying footage showed Brown Jr. walking around the train with a blood-soaked knife moments after the fatal stabbing. She busies herself with her phone as Brown, wearing a red sweatshirt, unfolds a pocket knife a few seconds before looming over her and making several fatal stabs into the diminutive woman's neck. I know in Britain, pocket knives are probably banned, but I don't think they should be. I think adults should be able to use pocket knives for lawful purposes, even children. But you're not allowed to stab people for no reason. Maybe in a self-defense situation, maybe so, but this was for no reason. So I'm not for people coming out and saying we should ban knives because of this. The killing has also exposed major safety flaws in Charlotte's mass transit system. Brown was allegedly a fare beater, taking both the bus and Lynch Blue Line without paying a cent. So he snuck on the train. So if they had enforced their rules, their ticket rules, he wouldn't have even been there and she'd still be alive. Additionally, it has emerged that local cops do not even police the Charlotte area transit system. Security has been outsourced to professional security service since last December. The contract allows for 218 security personnel system-wide, but 32 roles. 15% of those positions are currently vacant, Q City Metro reported. So here he is. PSS did not respond for a request for comment Monday. Oh, I'm sure they didn't. They need to be fired, and Charlotte, you guys need to put the police back on the trains. Following the attack, Charlotte Mayor V. Lyles issued a tone-deaf statement demanding compassion for people with mental illness, while avoiding mentioning the victim's name or the suspect's lengthy rap sheet. See, this is the problem with these soft-on-crime Democrat mayors. And I'm assuming he's a Democrat. I don't know that for sure. No, we need to be giving condolences to the family, and we need to throw this guy in jail for the rest of his life for murder, or we need to throw him in a mental institution because he has now lost his pass to be out in polite society. I don't care why he did it, what the background was. I don't want him around normal people. And if that sounds harsh, then so be it. He should be the rest of his life committed to a mental institution, or he should be in jail for the rest of his life. Lyles didn't respond to the message from the Post, but hours later issued a stunning reversal on social media, calling out courts magistrates for letting suspects like Brown go free to stalk the streets. Yes, he realized that he messed up there. You know, people are outraged. And really, he's being disingenuous because I guarantee he's been telling the courts to be soft on crime. And in the U.S., the courts are political positions. And so the courts are probably heavily Democrat in that area as well, if they're letting out mental cases. As I reflect on the tragic murder of Iryna Zarutska, my heart continues to go out to her family and our community as we try to make sense of this horrific and senseless loss, begins a statement. The first time Lyles said the young victim's name publicly. Yeah, dude, why didn't you say this before? Like, his messaging people got to him and said, hey, whoa. Yeah, that was not a good statement. So he doesn't care about her, or he would have made this sort of statement the first time. This was a tragic failure by the courts and magistrates. Yes, it was, but it also by you, Mr. Mayor. Our police officers arrest people only to have them quickly released, which undermines our ability to protect our community and ensure safety. Yeah, so blame the courts, but you are culpable in this too, Mr. Mayor. We need a bipartisan solution to address repeat offenders who do not face consequences for their actions. Those who cannot get treatment for their mental illness are allowed to be on the streets. I think Trump mentioned he was thinking about opening up the insane asylums in America again. I think Reagan closed them years ago, famously. I think it was back in Reagan's day, the insane asylums got lots of federal funding, and Reagan decided that was too costly. We need to close them down. No, we need to open them all up again. When there are all these shooters going into schools and killing little kids and going into churches and killing little kids, those are all mental patients. Get them identified and get them back into the mental institutions or put them in jail. One or the other. I don't care. As long as they're not out on the streets with me, I'm happy. Charlotte City Council members addressed crime on cats during a business meeting days after the attack, where multiple members warned their constituents felt unsafe using buses and trains in the city. You think? That is concerning. Clearly, our current safety policies are not enough, Council member Dimple Ajmara told the meeting. The court system, which time and again let Brown go free, was another layer of the failure involved in Zarutska's shocking caught-on-camera slaughter. They keep trying to blame the courts, but remember, it's the mayor and the legislature and the city council that are making these laws that are giving this leeway to the courts. Now, maybe it's possible the judge is just a complete lunatic, but the laws that are on the books also play a part. And so here she is, 23-year-old Ukrainian, worked at a pizza place. Now she's dead. All you people with your Ukrainian flags in your bios, how do you feel about this? Because I haven't seen many people talking about this from the left, and generally people with Ukrainian flags tend to be on the left. In the world of victimhood, I guess being a minority trumps being Ukrainian. In his most recent brush with the law in January, Brown was arrested for making false report to 911 after telling cops conducting a welfare check that he had been given man-made material that controlled his eating, walking, talking, according to court records. Yeah, because he's crazy. When officers said there was nothing they could do, he became irate and called the emergency response line, which led to his arrest. But Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes released him with the written promise to appear next court date. Like crazy people and criminals always come back for their court dates. Yeah, right, Judge. Before that, Brown served 5 years in prison in 2014 for robbery with a dangerous firearm and was busted again for assaulting his sister at home soon after release. A neighbor of Zarutska's family home in Charlotte told the Post that her parents and sister are taking the death really hard. I bet she had everything to live for. She'd escaped the war in Ukraine and was going to start a new life here. And I don't know what her status was, but I hope she was here legally, because I would say if she wasn't here legally, we should send her back to Ukraine. I don't care. But hopefully she was here with legal status. But even illegals should not be killed. If they're here illegally, they should be arrested and deported. So I feel bad for her. She was sweet. The whole neighborhood loved her. She did a lot of pet sitting for neighbors. She was a good, sweet person, said the neighbor, who asked to remain anonymous, adding her father couldn't attend the funeral because he's eligible to be drafted into the war against Russia. Yeah, so father's still probably back in Ukraine, because I think Zelensky ordered military-age males were not allowed to leave the country. That's kind of crazy, but it is in time of war, so I actually understand that. He said he was appalled at Stokes' leniency that enabled Brown to remain free. The dude was homeless. Where was he supposed to go from there? I feel like it's a major failure, he said. He had nobody. His mom had given up on him because he was too violent. Brown is being held without bond in Mecklenburg County Jail on murder charges. His next court appearance is September 19th. All right, so I think I'll end with this picture. The poor, woman murdered on a train, and American media doesn't care because it was a black homeless person. And in the tier of victimhood, Ukrainians rank lower. That's why we're not seeing it on mainstream media much in the U.S. And when we are seeing it, they don't call out that he was black. They obfuscate that. And so what do we need to do about this? We need to stop the soft on crime policies. This is why all the Democrat-run cities in America are hellholes. It's just a revolving door. They keep letting the criminals out because it's not their fault. No, I don't care what their circumstances are. If they're a criminal, put them in jail. If you're a criminal, the justice should be colorblind. It should be religion blind. Everyone gets the same sentence for the same crime. Stop the cashless bail, letting people out without having to pay money. And I know that's harder than for poor people to make bail and get out. But you know what? Maybe they shouldn't be out. And don't just let them go with a written promise to come back, because they don't come back. It's lunacy what the justice system in America is like. And it's very similar in the UK right now. I know. So this story is very similar to the UK. So all you soft on crime cities, you need to stop the nonsense. Get tough on crime again. Stop the shoplifting. Stop criminalizing regular folk. And then on mental illness, what we really need to do is we do need to open up and put a lot more money back into mental institutions. And we need the government to put together better guidance on what does due process look for a suspected mental illness sufferer? What does that look like so that we can go through the process properly and legally to commit them or to take away their gun rights too? I'm all for that. If you're crazy, you shouldn't have a gun. If you're crazy, you shouldn't have a knife. You shouldn't have any weapon. But it's because you're crazy. I don't want to criminalize normal people for doing normal law-abiding things. But this is the way to solve this. Open up the institutions again and throw all the crazy people in them. I don't know. Am I wrong? So tell me in the comments, like and subscribe if you do. If I got this wrong, tell me. Is cashless bail okay? Do we need to be nicer to crazy people because it's not their fault and they don't belong in jail? That could be your opinion. It's not mine. Like and subscribe if you do. Don't watch me if you don't. Thanks. Bye.